Hi, my name's Haley Poso, and my presentation is on conservation ecology and how we can use it to preserve the oceans and marine life. So, I chose this topic because I realized that the oceans are disappearing at an alarmingly fast rate. With that, many animals and organisms are endangered of being extinct. This is due to overfishing and bycatch, the increased carbon emissions from our vehicles and the burning of fossil fuels to have energy. Also, the increased waste that we generate that ends up in oceans every year. So, overfishing and bycatch is a very large problem. Anywhere from 970 to 2,700 billion fish are caught every year, and that is just from open sea. That doesn't include the fish that are farmed. Bycatch is when a fish or mammal is caught in a net that wasn't specifically targeted. Bycatch um, is in, is 40% of the world's whole catch, and that doesn't include any unreported bycatch, which would make the amount very large. Due to overfishing, there is an overpopulation of bacteria and algae, which can cause toxic algae blooms, which can be very harmful for environments and ecosystems. Carbon emissions from vehicles and the burning of fossil fuels for energy has been very increased in our atmosphere. A typical passenger vehicle emits about 4.7 metric tons of carbon dioxide per year, and that's only one vehicle. That's not including the billions of vehicles that there are all over the world. A result of the increased carbon emissions is ocean acidification, which is when the ocean water absorbs carbon dioxide from the atmosphere and it lowers the pH of the water, which makes it more acidic, and it'll increase the temperature of the water anywhere from 1.5 degrees to 2 degrees every year, which is a big change for fish that are very sensitive to the increased change in temperature or acidity. A result of the increased temperature is coral bleaching, and that is when a coral releases the algae in its tissues and turns white in color. It doesn't kill the coral, but it does make it more susceptible to any diseases, and it is more fragile, which is bad for the ecosystem because coral reefs house fish and they're just a habitat for the fish. Waste in our oceans is very bad. About 1.4 billion pounds of trash is put into our ocean every year. A way to reduce the trash that goes into our ocean is just to reduce plastic products. Many animals will eat the plastic and die basically because they cannot digest it. Another issue with trash ending up in our oceans is biomagnification, and that is when an animal will eat or come in contact with a toxic chemical, and when that animal is eaten, it'll basically go up the food chain and just increase in toxicity, and just the amount that each animal gets will increase as it goes up the food chain. A way that we could prevent biomagnification is just to responsibly dispose of any harmful chemicals and not to just pour it down the drain, because pretty much all the drains end up in rivers and lakes, and those filter into our oceans. And just use eco-friendly products that can break down very easily and won't be harmful. So in conclusion, overfishing and bycatch needs to be monitored more by governments, and there just needs to be limits that prevent fishers from overfishing fisheries and causing a collapse of an ecosystem due to lack of fish. Bycatch also, they just need to use safer equipment to let mammals and unwanted fish and non-targeted organisms be able to get out free. They have been coming up with nets that allow sharks or whales to actually escape and just keep the fish inside. Reducing carbon emissions, the easiest way would be to carpool. It is really unrealistic to think that everybody would just stop driving their cars and ride bikes to work or walk. So the most realistic way would be to carpool to reduce carbon emissions. Also, just watching your energy consumption and turning off lights when you don't need them, setting your thermostat to a reasonable setting that it's not always running hot or it's not always running cold air. Reducing garbage is pretty simple. Just reuse any plastic bags, reuse water bottles, and reusable totes and bags that you can use at the grocery store. That's the easiest way to reduce our plastic products that end up in the oceans. If you do use like the plastic rings from Coke cans, just cut them up, make sure that no animals are able to eat them, and that's really it. It's just being mindful of what we put into our oceans that can help them last longer for future generations to enjoy. And these are the works cited pages for all the photos.